internal evidence test applied to any documented history, whether the Bible, the New Testament, or what, makes the statement that an author or a document is innocent until proven by known accuracies or discrepancies not to be reliable. As I applied this test in the New Testament, I was overwhelmed. Let me just share with you one little example of it. In the conversion of Saul of Tarsus to the Apostle Paul on the road to Damascus, where it says an angel of the Lord appeared to Paul. He was struck blind. He was told to go into Damascus, and God would send someone to him to not only give his sight back, to explain to him what he needs to do. Well, there's two different versions of that account in the book of Acts, the same book. In Acts 9:7, it says, "And the men who traveled with Paul, with him, stood speechless, hearing the voice, but seeing no man." But then in Acts 22:9, the account says, "They saw indeed a light, and they were afraid. But they did not hear the voice of him who spoke to them." Well, for years, scholars have said an absolute discrepancy. And some people would kid me and say, "Well, Josh, did they or didn't they?" And I said, "Well, they did and they didn't." Say, "What do you mean?" For this reason, through further investigation and discoveries, this is what they learned. The construction of the verb to hear is not the same in both accounts. The proper translation in Acts 22:9, where the construction is not, did not hear the voice, but rather did not comprehend the voice. In other words, the emphasis is they could have heard it, but they didn't comprehend it. So the phrase would be, they didn't hear it, meaning they didn't comprehend it. But in Acts 9, it has nothing to do with understanding what you heard. It just means you heard the voices. It didn't mean you understood them. When you put the two together, the entire conflict or alleged discrepancy disappears. They said in Acts 9, they heard the voice. In Acts 22, they said they did not understand the voice. You know, we do that often in English. Let me show you what I mean. I was on a trip at Easter with my family, and I had to do a radio interview with a station in Chicago. So I stepped in. At that time, it was a telephone booth outdoors with a lot of traffic noise. And as they hooked me up to the person interviewing me, I said to him, "I can't hear you." Now, I could hear them, but I couldn't understand what they were saying. So I said, "I can't hear you." But they said, "Okay, let us call you back. We'll get a better..." They called back, and then I said, "I can hear you now," meaning I can understand you. Well, that's the same thing that happened with the two different accounts of Paul. Be patient when you come against what many people say is an error, a discrepancy, or a problem. Because normally, if we give it time, we do our homework, we examine it carefully, every time I've done that, it is cleared up. You know, God went out of His way to reveal His heart and mind to us through the Scriptures and make sure they were accurate.